Kansas, gateway to Oz. Under the rainbow, this is where it was. Hollyhocks and red ripe tomatoes, hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. It's the best part of Dorothy's dream.
Today on Around Kansas, join us for a story about Dr. Moores and his medical service during and after the Civil War. Then join us for a story about wildlife encounters and what you might find in a town near you. Next, we'll have a poem from Ron Wilson, and we'll end with a look at Tom Averil and his new book, Lost Documents. Stay with us. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life. Hi, I'm Frank, and this is the Wren Internet Radio Studio here at Wren Digital Media. And of course, on Wren, we play music from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, 24/7, 365. So anyway, tune us in at wrendigitalmedia.com. They allow me to do a commercial to promote the radio station since I do this show. Of course, I'm here in Topeka, and Deb, my co-host, is out in western Kansas, and she's got some interesting stories today. And here we are. We're nearly halfway through the month of July. Good grief. Seems like the year just started. And remember back in the spring when we were saying, oh, gosh, it's so cold. I wish it would warm up. Well, are you happy now? Be careful of what you wish for, because this has really been some kind of hot summer so far, huh? Hope you had a really nice 4th of July. There were a lot of celebrations around, and so hope you got to attend one of them and you stayed hydrated and all of that. And of course, coming up now in the state of Kansas are a lot of county fairs. The Shawnee County Fair starts on July 21st, and that's with a horse show. And they've got some great entertainment lined up, and of course, all kinds of booths and exhibits. That's what county fairs are all about. And so there are a lot of those going on, so you might check in on those because they are fun events. And there's a lot of good food too, you know, funnel cakes and corn dogs and lemonade. It's the good old summertime and the good old state of Kansas. And by the way, this is Around Kansas. I'm Frank. And it's a show about people, places, and things that make Kansas a great place to live, work, play. And that's what it's all about. And so back to the great summertime in the state of Kansas. Once the county fairs are over, then all the fall festivals start. So be sure to stay tuned right here, and we'll tell you about many of the festivals coming up. Of course, one of the big ones over in Bonner Springs is the Renaissance Festival. It's been going on for, seems like decades now. And if you've never been, you really have to go because it is something quite unique. So anyway, today Deb has some interesting stories. Tom Averil, who is an author and professor in the state of Kansas, has a new book. And as usual, it's a pretty interesting book by Tom. I know Tom, and I know his brother Rick, who of course is a playwright and director over in Lawrence, Kansas. So anyway, Deb was going to be talking about Tom's new book. And then wildlife encounters. Now this isn't going to see them, this is them coming to see you. I know in my backyard I have raccoons that come to visit every now and then, and a fox might bound over the fence. And of course, we have lots of squirrels and birds. So anyway, we're going to be talking about how wildlife is beginning to come into towns. Anyway, that's it. So have a great week, a great day, and Deb will have her stories after you see this.
Welcome to Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in Oakley, Kansas on I-70 at exit 76. I-70, after all, is America's Main Street, and we're right here on Main Street for you. Now that I'm an Oakley resident, I still come in almost every day, and I sit and listen to the conversations of the people around me. You know, the guys who are talking about the big elk they just bagged, or the folks who are taking their kid to college for the first time. People just traveling up and down the highway. Real people, just like you and me. And they find just what I find here, real people to serve them. There's history, there's scenery. We hope you'll stop and see us soon. Welcome to Oakley.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Welcome to Kansas, gateway to...
He was a refined and educated gentleman from a respected family in New York. He was descended from heroes of the Revolution and the War of 1812. As a druggist and physician, he had a comfortable life, a family, a wife, and a small son. When the Civil War broke out, Dr. John Henry Moores enlisted and served in the 16th and the 118th New York Infantries. He was medically discharged in 1864 and returned to his family and practice in Plattsburgh, New York, to get on with his life, perhaps with the hope of returning to normal. But the doctor must have possessed something of the wanderlust. By all appearances, he was well established in New York and would have had a comfortable, lucrative practice. Whether the experience of war had changed him, whether he possessed the urge to move prior to the war, we cannot say. War often changes people, and as a surgeon, he had seen much. His own brother had been killed in combat in Mississippi. Whatever the reason, following the close of the Civil War, he headed to the burgeoning frontier town of Hays, Kansas. His wife and son remained at home. We have no evidence of marital discord. Perhaps the young wife did not want to go west. Perhaps her health was an issue. We know that she died at the young age of 44. Perhaps, like so many men of his time, he sought his fortune in the West and would bring his family later. Beyond that, we only know that he came west. He hung out his shingle in Hays as a druggist and physician. He was killed in combat, and his mortal remains were never recovered. When Major Sandy Forsyth recruited 50 fearless men to serve as civilian scouts in the 1868 Plains Indian Wars, he contracted with Dr. Moores to be the acting surgeon in the command. A fellow scout would later recall that Dr. Moores confessed that he wanted to see, quote, real wild Indian. And he did. Engaged in combat on the Arickaree in the Colorado Territory that September, the good doctor performed well and bravely as a soldier. He was next to his commanding officer when Major Forsyth heard the unmistakable thud of breaking bone. The doctor had been shot in the head and lingered insensible for days before the relief of death. Like the other scouts who perished, Dr. Moores was hastily buried on the battlefield. When the weather turned cold, a detail was sent to recover the bodies, but the doctor's grave was empty, save for a piece of shirt that was recognized as belonging to him. A headstone in his hometown bears his and his wife's names and the fact that he fell in a fight with Indians in the Colorado Territory. It does not say that he has no grave. In the grand reunion of Forsyth Scouts and 150th Beecher Island anniversary events, Dr. Moores will be portrayed by Ian Trevathan of the Sternberg Museum in Hays. Ian has been studying the lives of the post-surgeons from the era and is excited to introduce Dr. Moores to those who may not have met him.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Fort Wallace was the fightingest fort in the West. Fossils, Indians, soldiers, scouts, wagons, trails, pioneers, stories. Discover the story of Fort Wallace and the people who served here, the people who fought here, the people who settled here. Wallace County, where the past is present.
Buffalo Bill Cody earned his legendary title in Oakley. Bring the family and come celebrate Oakley's pioneering history and unique geography at two sites, the Buffalo Bill Cultural Center and the Fick Fossil Museum. Cody's statue marks his achievements and welcomes visitors to the Cultural Center. The Fick Fossil Museum houses world-class fossils and artifacts. You'll find Oakley at the hub of U.S. Highways 83 and 40 and I-70. Stop for the legend. Stay for the day. Discover Oakley. This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Oakley.
Wildlife is so named because, well, it's wild. And since it is wild, you never know where it will be or what it will do, like the deer peering through the window, seemingly watching TV with Dr. Jake. I ask our viewers to share some of their experiences, and wow, did you ever respond? There were so many and so wild, pardon the pun, that we will have to do more than one segment to get them all in. Maybe it will even become a regular feature. And since our viewers are not confined to Kansas, neither are our stories. We have done a few segments on snakes, and of course they seem to get the most notice. Maybe because they are so plentiful and just fit about anywhere, like the bathtub. Yes, a friend in Hayes recently posted a photo of a garter snake that had come up through the overflow drain in her tub while her daughter was taking a bath. They fit in the transformers too, as the bull snake in Hayes found out the other day when, in the process of frying himself, he knocked out power to hundreds of Midwest Energy customers. Besides snakes, deer are plentiful and, according to insurance adjusters, much more dangerous. Just ask one of the thousands of drivers who've struck a deer on Kansas roadways. Vicki Tremblay, who lives in the city limits of Topeka, told of a lady's waking her up one morning to say her car had hit Vicki's deer. Only Vicki didn't have a deer. Dawn Hirschberger in Council Grove helped rescue a fawn that was headed for the highway. It ran into the truck repair shop and hid amongst the gas cans and chemicals on a shelf, said Dawn. She retrieved the little guy and released him in her backyard. A doe waited nearby, and Bambi scampered away. My friend Felicia Sheeler from back home in the Blue Ridge shared the story of walking a trail with her dog who went exploring in the woods. She heard snorting and grunting, and the dog came tearing out, being chased by some creature. Felicia was in a panic, with nowhere to go and no time to get there. When a deer emerged, he was as startled to see Felicia as she was him, and thankfully he turned the other way. Likewise, back in Kansas, Sarah Sales was walking a trail at Cheney Lake when she heard something loud, snorting and grunting. It kept getting closer and closer. I tried calling my husband to say my goodbyes, but he didn't answer. I called my daughter and was completely frozen with fear when out jumps a dang deer. I honestly thought it was a wild pig or something. Both my boys almost got plowed over by a deer when they were riding their bikes down the same trail. I thought I was going to be mauled to death, said Sarah, laughing. The deer popped out, I screamed, and then I laughed so hard I was crying. Of course, there are the endless hazards of farm life, as evidenced by Bill Bunyan of Dodge City. When I was in junior high, we had a lot of sheep, and my dad said, take the 5-gallon bucket and fill it with corn to be ground for the sheep. I threw the bucket over the corn bin wall and jumped in to fill it, but got a rude surprise as the bucket went right over a skunk, and it let me have it across my eyes when I pulled it up. The saving grace was I was wearing my glasses, and that kept me from getting the full dose. Needless to say, I did stink and got out of the corn bin in record time. Whether it's the frightening or the delightful, like Kylie Bazel's girls in Oakley finding a baby rabbit in the yard, living with wildlife makes life interesting. Let's hear some more of your stories.
Summer is busy at Tarwater Farm and Home. We have just about everything you'll need for your summer projects, and we're consistently competitively priced. Tarwaters can help make your grass and garden grow. And we have a huge variety of equipment to cut it. If you have a farm, Tarwaters has the products and equipment to keep it going strong. And our expanded parking lot will make it even more convenient to shop. So come see us at Tarwater Farm and Home in Topeka.
Welcome to the Jerry Thomas Gallery and Collection, where we showcase my renowned frontier military and Native American artifacts. Behind me you see a touch of fall. We put together not only the beauty of Micah Highwalking, who is the first graduate of West Point of the Northern Cheyenne people and a dear friend, but also a Hudson's Bay blanket that I have here in the gallery. The unique opportunity that I was able to have was we unveiled this painting and surprised Micah at Custer Battlefield, a true honor.
Hi, I'm Kim Mandarin with Hardy Insurance. I'm here to help you with all of your farm and ranch needs. When it comes to protecting your operation and your family, you need a name you can trust at a price you can afford. Call me today or visit hardyaviationins.com.
With nearly 100 years of broadcasting excellence, Ren Radio is now live on the internet playing hit songs of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Join Jack Diamond, Mac Collins, Les Glenn, Frankie C., Antonio Barber, Wings Callahan, and the real Don Steele for some of the best music ever recorded. Hear it at rendigitalmedia.com or get the Ren Oldies Radio app in Play Store or App Store and tell Alexa, good times and great oldies on Ren Internet Radio.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
One of the key pieces of equipment which a cowboy uses in modern times is the livestock trailer. This poem is a tribute to the livestock trailer. I wrote this poem on the back of a sale barn receipt while I was sitting in line at the sale barn getting ready to unload cattle. It's called Hitch Me Up. There are red ones and blue ones, silver and gray. Some are splattered with manure, some leaking hay. Some are dark or muddy, some are clean or white. There's Titans and Travelongs, Sooner and Featherlight. There's Trailman and Roughneck, CM and Diamond C, and some of them look downright homemade to me. Most have gooseneck attachments, but some are bumper pull. Some have a big dent from carrying a bull. Some are riding low from carrying heavy loads. Some look like they've banged down too many gravel roads. Some need a paint job, some are coated with dust. Some look like antiques that are nothing but rust. They're used to haul cattle or horses or hay, and they're parked at the sale barn during sale day. They're going to and from pasture at different times of the year. During county fair, they're hauling in the show steer. There might even be a time in your child's search for knowledge that the trailer's cleaned up to haul the kids' stuff to college. So we salute the livestock trailer. In fact, we might say that it's a vital support for the cowboy. It's behind him all the way. Happy trailer.
The land here tells a story. It offers up fossils of extinct beasts, ruins of native villages, battlegrounds and building sites. Walk the shore of historic Scott Lake and imagine the native peoples on the hillsides above you. Listen, you can hear their voices on the wind. Discover the secrets of Scott County on the ground where history happened, or in the comfort of the El Cuartalejo Museum. I promise it's an amazing story.
My name's Karen Cope and I have multiple sclerosis. When you have MS, on the outside you look great, but you know what's really going on in the inside is chronic body pain, chronic fatigue. And there's lots of days that I'd wake up and say, oh, please God, help me get through this day. You know, after stem cells, Chloe, my youngest daughter, she was asked by my father-in-law, how's your mom doing? And Chloe said, Grandpa, I've never had a mom like this before. Because she was 8 when I was diagnosed, and she really had no other memory of me but being sick. It's really the simple things that we do as a family, like play cards, and to be able to win at cards. You know, they all laugh because I used to repeat myself and say, what hand are we on? You know, where are we at? And it's just been really a true blessing from God, and we're really thankful.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but yet we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we'd be glad to answer it and work with you.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Thomas Fox Averil is familiar to many of our viewers. Professor Emeritus at Washburn University, Tom spent 37 years sharing his passion for words and for Kansas. I was among the students fortunate enough to benefit from his insight and generosity. Tom's many books reflect those passions. Today, Tom shares his latest work, Found Documents from the Life of Nell Johnson Dorr.
Found Documents from the Life of Nell Johnson Dorr is the story of Nell Johnson. She marries a man named Dorr. She actually had her beginning as a little baby in my novel Road, where she was discovered by my heroes in a burning cabin, and both her parents were dead. And they adopted her, and she goes to Arkansas with them and marries a man named Solomon Dorr. And they're dedicated to the freedom of African Americans. They're part of an underground railroad that runs across the Mississippi from Tennessee to Arkansas. So naturally, when Kansas Territory opens up in 1854, they come to Kansas and want to work on the Underground Railroad. And they invest in Lawrence, Kansas. But then Quantrill's Raid happens in 1863, and Nell again finds herself in a burning building with everyone around her that she loves dead, her husband killed in Quantrill's Raid. And when she's hiding in that basement, in the foundation rock of the basement, she sees creatures, she sees fossils, she sees things she's never seen before, and she identifies with them. She thinks, who are these things that were once alive and are now dead? And that's how she feels herself. And she dedicates her life to discovering what fossils are and what they mean. And this is in 1863, of course. Darwin's Origin of Species just came out in 1859. So the whole world is getting turned on its head in terms of scientific understandings and discoveries. And so my character Nell becomes an amateur scientist interested in fossils, a great discoverer of fossils, just as she becomes a great discoverer of herself. And she manages to sell her property so she doesn't have to take in laundry and boarders like a lot of Quantrill's Raid widows. And she dedicates her life to understanding this and eventually sends her specimens to Washington and even writes a paper about fossils that's accepted by the kind of amateur scientific community that was so big in Kansas and in the nation in the 19th century. So the book runs from 1854 with the opening of Kansas to about 1890. And one of the things that makes the book unique is that I like to pretend and I like people to believe that Nell is a real person, and that I've discovered her letters, her diary entries, her sketches, newspaper articles about her, notes that she makes to herself. So I've created sort of a fake archive. And this is Nell all through her own written word as she writes to her family, to her friends, as they write to her. So it's archival fiction, I guess you would call. I've done a lot of research in libraries, love libraries, and sort of created my own library to pick and choose through. Nell's a very independent woman and very even-minded and represents a lot of what I think is the best parts of Kansas in the 19th century. free-spirited, liberal, working for causes. And I guess I put Nell in the world because I wish she had been in the world.
That's it again. I'm Frank, she's Deb, and we'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Kansas is more than tornadoes. We're the best part of Dorothy Street.